Sup, it's Hallie. Welcome back to the Rising Knight. When we last left off, we were somewhere. Were we here? No, we were here. That's right. It just happened to be a black screen. Futoshi Sagawa. So he really got himself killed, eh? It sure is all over the news. Indeed. Quite the conundrum he put us in, wouldn't you say? His operation barely lasted a year, and now we've lost that source of income entirely. What a complete disappointment he was! Are we not able to acquire his assets? Don't take me for a fool, Azuma. Sagawa has been on the police's radar for months. With him now 6 feet under, they'll waste no time prying into every aspect of his life. That includes the entirety of his former operation. Would that not include his association with us? Not exactly. Apart from the quality of his work, I knew Sagawa was too incompetent for the position. The cleanup crew even arrived just in time to find him already dead. You sent a cleanup crew? Oh, did I forget to mention that part? My mistake. He's made reports of attacks targeting his usual routes. There's no doubt he let information leak, and as such, I knew he wasn't to be trusted from the start. If there was even a slight chance they could be involved in those attacks, I knew they wouldn't hesitate to alert the authorities for their own benefit. However, I don't believe what happened with Sagawa is any matter of concern. This city's full of suppliers. I have no doubt we'll be able to find another one with little effort at all. In fact, they'll come crawling to us so they can fill in the void he left in his wake. What makes you so impartial about it? If they were involved, there wouldn't be any reason for them to get rid of his 2 guys. Especially if they already knew about his operation. And if they're involved, then it's only a matter of time before they use what they got out of Sagawa to come after us. You think the chairman would ever associate with someone who can't keep their mouth shut? They only sent 1 person. The cleanup crew was able to get that much out of his lackeys. The perpetrator left without any way to trace his work back to us. I'm confident about that much. 1 person wouldn't be nearly enough for him to break. If anything, my curiosity is set on the identity of this mysterious person. White hair, almost colorless eyes, and an uncaring attitude towards the whole situation. He was even strong enough to contend against 3 people. Now, Sagawa wasn't particularly known for his proficiency in the art of combat, but my intuition tells me this perpetrator is worth my attention. Don't tell me you're going to go out looking for him now. That's precisely the plan, Sasaki. He just sounds too familiar to an old friend. There's no way I could pass on such a great opportunity. But you took care of him over a decade ago, sir. That old friend is gone, and so is his legacy. Ho ho, that's certainly how the story goes. What are you trying to say? Kimura? Council villains. But I don't know who or anything what they look like. That was it. That was all that was left of the demo. But here's the thing, we do have, like, route choices that we can pursue a little bit here, so we'll be delving into those, I guess. Although I imagine it won't be too terribly different, because it looked like the only scene that would really be much different based on our choice here is, like that little conversation we had with Yuri, where she was like, here, we should exchange numbers and stuff. So let's go down the line. We'll pick Monica this time. And we'll just see how far we get with different choices here.
Oh, you'd like to help me?
That'd be correct.
Alright, I can use the extra pair of hands.
Monica, eh? If that's the case, then I'll go help out Sayori. Knowing her, she's gonna need someone to carry all those decorations.
Okay, then that finalizes our plan for the festival.
Monica turns to me.
If you'd like, Hallie, we'll have plenty of time tomorrow to discuss our festival preparations. It's about time we wrapped things up here for today. However, so you're dismissed.
And I need Skeeb. We'll just see. It's probably not going to be too much different. And I don't think we'll have to worry about, like, the, what was it? The quick time events. Because I'm pretty sure that scene happens before that moment anyway. Maybe I'll just, like, turn on my lamp just in case. I need to see my keyboard. She's just across the room, you know. Feel free to ask her. Yeah, I guess you're right about that. Ask who about what?
Hey, you two.
What's up, Monica?
I don't mean to interrupt your conversation, but we're meant to be discussing our plans for the festival today. So, I'll have to steal Hallie from you if you don't mind.
Oh, right, I almost forgot. Hila looks around the room before turning back to us. Speaking of, where is Sayori?
I'm not quite sure. I bet she'll be here in a few minutes, though. She's probably just running a little late.
Gotcha. Well, see ya, Hallie. Later. Wait, hold on. I mean, I read that as see ya. But, you know, see ya's like S-E-E-Y-A. Kya? Come on now. Monica and I head over to the front of the room while Eli continues to await Sayori's arrival. At the teacher's desk, I pull up a nearby chair. Before I'm able to ask anything about the plan, however, I notice her usual smile fade into a more serious expression.
So, Hallie, why did you choose to help me?
Why did I choose to help you?
You seemed to get along with Yuri pretty well yesterday. And you knew Sayori before anyone else in the club. I'm surprised you didn't choose either of them to help out.
Well, I know them just about the same as I know the rest of the club. I wasn't particularly interested in setting up the atmosphere or baking, and I didn't see how I'd be of any help to Sayori. So I decided to go with the pamphlets since that sounded simple enough. She stays silent, looking me dead in the eyes with her hands folded under her chin as if she were interrogating me. I'm not exactly sure what she's on about, but that facade of hers isn't convincing in the slightest. If she really were to suspect some ulterior motive, she could at least be more intimidating. My suspicions are soon confirmed as her original demeanor returns.
You got one heck of a poker face, Hallie.
Maybe, but what makes you say that?
Lucky guess. You've always maintained that neutral expression and tone. I wouldn't be able to get the read on you if you were lying.
How can you be so sure I wasn't? She chuckles at me.
You're right, I can't. But tell me something, Hallie. You didn't happen to join this club because someone interested you, did you?
Interested me? Not particularly. I've only been in this club for so long. There's still much I have to learn from each of you. The only two people I knew of before joining were Sayori and Eli, and while their unusual behavior was certainly interesting to an extent, I wouldn't pin that as my reasoning to join the club. Considering I've barely known you all for more than a day, I really couldn't single out any one of your styles more intriguing than the other if I wanted to. So you could say you all did, in a way.
That's, yeah, I see what you mean. But as different as Sayori and Eli can be, I wouldn't exactly call their behavior unusual.
To each their own, I guess. She seems to be confused by my response, a reaction I wasn't anticipating. Regardless, we've gone completely off track, which is surprising considering I'm talking to the president of this club. So, what about the plan, Monica?
Right, the plan. The format for the pamphlets can be similar to how we had it last festival, with each of the stories on separate pages inside a binder. This time, however, I'd also like the design to be more casual and inviting. I have a feeling the previous design's professionalism might have been what discouraged many from even checking out the club.
Doubt it. There weren't many people inside to check out the pamphlets in the first place. Any disinterest is likely due to the subject matter itself rather than a lack of pretty pictures to gawk at. Not to say it's a bad idea, of course.
Don't worry, I understood what you meant. Believe it or not, pretty pictures can work wonders in attracting an audience. Think of it like how restaurants have pictures of food on their menu or as decor on the walls. Sometimes they can entice you to stay and eat, even if you weren't hungry beforehand. While not everyone will be interested in literature, the eyes in the room that are present might have their minds changed upon seeing it.
I see. So it's Sayori's job to bring the people in and ours to interest them to stay.
For the most part. It's also our job to make the flyers, which helps with the prior. So, in a way, we do both.
Ah, gotcha.
Speaking of which, you wouldn't happen to have a printer at your house, would you?
Not exactly.
That's okay, we can use the library then. It's usually pretty empty on the weekends. If we're gonna get everything printed, then it'd be the best time to do so.
Works for me. I happen to have off next Saturday.
Oh, wonderful. Then next Saturday it is.
Got it. I briefly look over to the clock on the wall, realizing we're barely a quarter of the way through the club meeting. I also spot Yuri and Natsuki reading at their usual spots, but oddly enough I don't see Sayori or Eli around. Wonder where they are. So, Monica, that's all we have to plan for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see. I'll be on my way then.
Hold on, Hallie, I have a question for you. You mentioned the book you borrowed from the library yesterday. You were going to read that, am I correct?
Yeah, what about it?
Well, I'm a little curious about what kind of literature you're into. Yuri's been hooked on horror as of late. Natsuki has always preferred comedy over anything else, and Sayori tends to read anything that's, well, happier, to put it one way. And I, for one, am always open to any genre, much like Eli is. So, where do you stand, Hallie?
About the same as you two. I have no preference.
Then, what about that book you chose? Did you say it piqued your interest? Or, no, you did say it piqued your interest.
Correct. The genre of it is mystery, which I don't usually frequent. Although I can't quite put my finger on it, that might be precisely why I felt intrigued by it. It was something different. Something that, by the premise alone, I felt could keep my interest throughout with everything there is to discover. I've already read a few pages into it so far, and I can say it's matched my expectations. Monica looks at me shocked. Is something wrong?
No, just... that answers a lot more than I was expecting.
She stays quiet for a moment before chuckling to herself.
The mystery of the club's newfound favorite genre is mystery. Who would have guessed? Kinda funny, don't you think?
I suppose. In all honesty, I'm left confused by her response. I don't see how I'm any more of a mystery to this club than someone like Yuri, but I guess that's my title now.
Now you've got me interested in it too. You wouldn't mind if I took a look at it, would you?
Guess not. I open my bag, pulling out the book to hand to Monica. Her eyes survey the cover, both front and back, before she speaks up.
It's an interesting pick for sure, Hallie. I haven't heard of this one before.
Me neither. When I first saw it, I assumed it was part of a series, though I was quick to find out that the number had little to do with the story.
You said you were only a few pages in, right? If I had to take a guess, I'd say the number might have more meaning to it than you think, Hallie.
Maybe you're right. It'll take a while before I'm done reading it, though. It's not exactly the lightest read.
I see that. Well, there's no better time to start than the present.
What do you mean?
You can just show me no, you can't just show me a book as interesting as this and expect me not to want to read it. Besides, it'll be much easier to digest if we read together, wouldn't you say?
I, guess you're not wrong. She claps her hands together in response.
Perfect. We still have half an hour until it's time to share. I bet we can get through the first chapter by then.
Uh-huh. Out of all the club members, I'd have expected this club's president to be the easiest to understand. Why insist on reading with me? She could have just gotten her own copy if she was interested. I suppose we don't exactly talk about books in this literature club, so maybe it's just her outlet to discuss it with me. Whatever it is, I guess see no harm in it. I'm just here to go with the flow of things anyway. So how exactly are we gonna read this together?
Like this.
She scoots her chair closer to mine, placing us both at the corner of the teacher's desk. After opening up to the first page, she slides it over for me to grab hold of the left side. Ah, I see. With the book now in front of both of us, I start reading through it in my head. That is, until Monica abruptly speaks up.
You want me to start us off?
What do you mean?
I mean, do you want me to read the first part aloud? It'd be a lot more engaging than reading together in silence, after all.
Oh, sure, go ahead. Reading aloud, huh? I wasn't expecting to have to do that. As she begins, I can't help but notice her putting on a different voice for each of the characters. A higher pitch for the main character and a stricter, harsher tone for his mother. Though the voice she gives for the mother doesn't entirely match what she says, it's clear to tell she's invested in the story off the first page alone. Eventually she reaches the end of the page and turns towards me.
You're up next, Hallie.
Right. Needless to say, I'm unable to keep the same energy as her as I read. My voice is just too monotone. She seems to pick up on this as I see her suppressing a laugh in my peripheral vision. And just as I finish up my part, she speaks up.
I didn't know everyone in the story was a robot.
Maybe they are. The story has yet to state otherwise.
If that's your excuse, then it's not a very good one, Hallie. Who's to say robots don't have personalities of their own?
If they did, we'd probably have a bigger problem on our hands. Robot sentience isn't something that goes over well in most movies. They almost always spell out dystopia. But that I digress. I don't actually believe any of the characters are robots. I don't have quite the range and voice you do, that's all.
That's okay, Hallie. Don't worry about it. Read it whatever voice is most comfortable for you. Not everyone's a Let's Player after all. This isn't the drama club. I won't judge you for your voice acting skills.
If you say so. For the next 15 minutes, Monica and I continued to read in tandem. Needless to say, my voice acting skills didn't change one bit that entire time. Not that it really matters anyway. One way or another, I'm still reading the book. After some time, Monica finishes reading her page and hands off the next to me. Right as I start, however, the sound of my buzzing phone interrupts me. Upon checking the caller ID, I immediately freeze up. A call. Why this early? He shouldn't have any reason to.
Something the matter, Hallie?
No. I do have to take this call, however. I skipped some text. So excuse me for a second.